Tonight on Y News, President Rodrigo Duterte signs executive order on the nationwide smoking ban. Marine Lieutenant Colonel Ferdinand Marcelino leaves the AFP detention facility after the Department of Justice junks the illegal drugs case against him. The Philippine government turns down future development aid from the European Union.
The PNP Internal Affairs Service drops the filing of charges against cops involved in the issue regarding the secret cell in Manila. More than 100 higher educational institutions filed petition for tuition increase this school year. And the Children's Motorcycle Safety Act takes effect tomorrow.
Y News begins now.
From the UNTV News and Rescue Command Center, this is Y News with Angelo Castro III and Darlene Basingan.
President Rodrigo Duterte has signed today the executive order banning smoking in public places. Though the Department of Health has yet to provide details of the EO, it is being patterned after the one being implemented in Davao City, which maintains a smoke-free environment. The EO reached the office of the President in March of this year. The ban will cover all public areas, parks, bus stations, and inside vehicles. The Department of Justice has dropped the illegal drugs case against Marine Lieutenant Colonel Ferdinand Marcelino and Chinese national Yan Yishu. Roderick Mendoza will tell us why.
The Department of Justice has cleared Lieutenant Colonel Ferdinand Marcelino and Chinese asset Yan Yishu of illegal drugs case. The two were arrested in an alleged clandestine shabu laboratory in Manila last January 2016, where authorities recovered over 70 kilos of shabu worth 380 million pesos. In May last year, the DOJ issued a resolution clearing Marcelino and Jan for insufficiency of evidence. It was reversed in September and the two were indicted before the Manila RTC. But in a resolution yesterday, the DOJ affirmed its original ruling and withdrew the charges against Marcelino. It said Marcelino and Jan were able to prove that they don't have control over the premises and they only went there to verify an information that there are illegal drugs inside. The DOJ used the certification issued by ISAF Chief Brigadier General Ronald Villanueva that Marcelino was tasked to conduct anti-drugs operations. The NBI also certified that Marcelino is part of and was instrumental in several successful anti-illegal drugs operations. The Public Attorney's Office says Marcelino was framed.
Mahirap magsalita pero makikita mo sa nangyari, talagang set up ito. Ito ay tanim droga.
Acosta further says Marcelino is willing to testify against Senator Laila de Lima on the alleged bilibid drug trade.
Sabi niya, anytime he can testify. Pero kung ano yung testify niya, hindi ko po alam. Siya po nakakaalam.
Roderick Mendoza, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
Through a release order issued by the Department of Justice or DOJ, Marine Lieutenant Colonel Ferdinand Marcelino was released today from the AFP detention facility. Marcelino personally received the release order for him from the DOJ, delivered by Public Attorney's Office Chief Attorney Persida Acosta. Marcelino says he is thankful for all those who helped him and believe that he is innocent of all the accusations against him.
Lang eh, sabi nga dun sa kanta, ibon mong may layang lumipad, kulungin mo at umiiyak eh. So, having your freedom, hindi mo talaga ma-express or you will run out of words kung paano mo i-describe yung nararamdaman mo.
Meanwhile, Marcelino has no plan to counter-charge against those who wronged him. Tomorrow, PAO Chief Persida will go to Camp Bagong Diwa, Taguig to issue the release order for Chinese asset Yan Yishu. Malacanang confirms that President Rodrigo Duterte has approved the recommendation of the Department of Finance to stop accepting development aid from the European Union. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
The President has approved the recommendation of the Department of Finance not to accept grants, and this is not necessarily humanitarian aid, from the EU that may allow it to interfere with the internal policies of the Philippines.
This has been presidential spokesperson Ernesto Abello's response after confirming that the Philippines will no longer accept new development aid from the European Union or EU. Abello did not specify the aid grants the country will decline to accept from the European bloc, but he notes that the administration has the right to decline foreign aids that it deems would hinder its efforts to run the country. He cites as example the EU's criticisms of President Rodrigo Duterte's campaign against illegal drugs.
It also reserves the right to respectfully decline offers that do not achieve these goals and offers that allow foreigners to interfere with the conduct of its internal affairs.
The presidential spokesperson clarifies that the current aid EU gives to the country will still continue. He says the move should not be a cause for worry, as the president only wants to show that the Philippines can stand on its own even without aid from EU.
We need to gain a certain confidence in ourselves, and that this is exactly the kind of mentality I think that the president wants the Filipinos to avoid, a mendicant attitude, and this we're not disrespecting the aid that we've received, but definitely we can.
Abello also argues the Philippine economy had improved within 10 months after Duterte took office, further boasting that the country is even the second fastest growing economy in Asia. The Department of Trade and Industry meanwhile argues that the recent move of the government should not affect the ties between the Philippines and European Union when it comes to the exportation of products. NEDA Director General Ernesto Pernia explains that the recent decision of the president might be his response to his critics who question the manner in which he runs the country and his implementation of what he claims as an independent foreign policy.
This is not going to be customary. It's an act, one-time act.
Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
The growth of the Philippine economy slightly slowed down in the first quarter of this year, according to the National Economic Development Authority, or NEDA. Monokson will tell us why.
The Philippines' gross domestic product, or GDP, is at 6.4% in the first quarter of this year. It is lower than the 6.9% growth recorded in 2016. Despite this, Socio-Economic Planning Secretary and NEDA Director General Ernesto Pernia says the current growth rate is an indication of the country's strong performing economy, as remains in line with the government target of 6.5 to 7.5% growth. Pernia explains the reasons behind the slowdown in the economy.
But this can be explained by the base effects. That is, growth last year was high due to election spending, as you would already know by now, the impact of which has already dissipated.
Despite this, NEDA says the condition of the country's economy has been improving due to the strategies employed by the Duterte administration in terms of government spending. The Economic and Development Secretary says the Philippines has in fact overtaken other growing economies in Southeast Asia like Vietnam, Indonesia, and Thailand. The sector with strongest contribution to the country's GDP is the services sector, with 6.8% growth. The growth of the industry sector, meanwhile, declines to 6.1% from 9.3% in the same period last year. The usually low-performing agriculture sector saw an increase of 4.9% from the 4.3% last year. NEDA explains the government's infrastructure projects that are currently in the pipeline would help in further improving the economy. NEDA also notes that it remains important to keep the inflation or prices of goods low to encourage more consumer spending and consumption. Economist Peter Lee Yu, meanwhile, believes the growing economy is now being felt at the grassroots level.
I think in terms of the surveys naman, as I recall, parang yung poverty level naman, there has been some inroads. There's been some improvements naman on it. No? Even yung mga, I don't recall the exact numbers, with self-rated poverty and yung mga hunger.
For ordinary Filipinos like Rodolfo, there seems to be a slight improvement in their lives.
Sa tingin ko naman mas bumuti naman ngayon kaysa nung mga nakaraan. Medyo nakakaramdam naman ng konti ng ginawa ng konti sa buhay. Kasi magsipag ka lang talagang.
NEDA is set to make another announcement on June regarding the state of the country's economy. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasig City.
The public can now take hold of the 2016 Statement of Assets, Liabilities, and Net Worth, or SALN, of senators. Senator Cynthia Villar tops the list with the highest net worth amounting to 3.6 billion pesos with no declared liabilities. Senator Manny Pacquiao followed with more than 3 billion net worth. This is lower compared to his 2015 SALN with a declared net worth of 3.27 billion pesos. On the top three is Senator Ralph Recto, followed by Senator Sunny Angara and Senator Juan Miguel Zubiri. Senator Antonio Trillanes IV, on the other hand, is considered as the poorest senator. Several transport organizations urge the government to consider their request to implement a loan program for them with low interest rates and to have them exempted from traffic laws in the event the tax reform package bill passes into law. Nel Marie Buhok will tell us why.
Several transport organizations call on the Duterte administration and several lawmakers to save their sector from the possible negative impact of the passage of the tax reform package law. The jeepney and bus operators are asking the government to give them subsidies and ease the number coding scheme in their sector.
Magkaroon sana na kung mapapasa itong batas na to ay maging kabahagi rin kami ng excise tax para sa protection naman ng aming sasakyan.
Kailangan natin maging comprehensive ng route rationalization. Number 2, i-lift yung number coding immediately.
Under the proposed law, the excise tax on diesel will reach to 6 pesos per liter by 2020. The law will be implemented in several tranches and will begin with 3 peso tax in the middle of 2017. This means that jeepney and bus fares might increase by 40 centavos in every 3 peso additional tax. The Department of Finance and Department of Transportation explains the PUV sector will benefit from the additional excise tax.
Kasi yung pinaka-solution, hindi po yung subsidy or yung temporary cash transfer. Yung solution po ay modernize natin yung chief.
Kausap namin yung mga government financing institution para makapagbigay ng mababang pautang sa mga jeepney operators.
The DOF estimates that with the implementation of the law, the government's budget will increase to more than 500 billion pesos in 2022 for the programs aiming to address the poverty in the country. The Finance Department continues to conduct consultations with various sectors to get their position on the tax reform package of the Duterte administration. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasay City.
Transport groups warn of staging another protest caravan on Monday. The caravan will convene at the Elliptical Road, heading towards the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board, or LTFRB, and to the Department of Transportation, or DOTR. The protest is a show of force against the LTFRB plan of phasing out old passenger jeepney models.
Kasi ang announcement ni Chairman Delgla, once na ilabas nila yung omnibus franchising guideline by end of this month, no? Ilalarga na nila yung scrappage ng mga jeepneys. Kung sabi yung 15-year-old model and above. Starting this year, then ang kanilang timeline, tatapusin nila hanggang 2019. Pagdating ng 2020, wala nang lumang jeep.
The group maintains that purchasing new jeepney units will be too cumbersome to drivers and operators who are more inclined to the option of overhauling their old units.
Starting tomorrow, small children will no longer be allowed on motorcycles. Victor Cosare will tell us why.
The government is set to implement tomorrow the Children's Safety on Motorcycles Act of 2015. Under Republic Act 10666, children will not be allowed to ride on a two-wheeled motorcycle if they cannot reach the motorcycle's foot peg and cannot wrap their arms on the sides of the driver.
The children should be able to comfortably put his foot on the foot pegs ng motorsiklo. Number 1, ano? Number 2, kaya niyang i-embrace yung driver. full embrace, nakaganon yung kamay niya. Pag hindi niya kayang i-embrace yung kamay niya sa driver, bawal yon. And then number 3, kailangan siyang naka-wear ng standard helmet according dun sa helmet law natin.
The law covers those flying through public roads, including national highways, provincial roads, as well as municipal and barangay streets. The law also aims to protect the welfare of young motorists. Motorcycle riders, meanwhile, have agreed with the implementation of the said law.
Kasi delikado po biglang mamreno yung driver, mahulog yung bata.
Tama ng panahon na isa batas na talaga, sir, kasi takaw aksidente talaga.
Like any other traffic laws, violators will definitely face penalties. 3,000 pesos will be imposed on first-time offenders and 5,000 pesos for second-time offenders. Those committing the violation for the third time will have to pay 10,000 pesos and face 1 month suspension of their driver's license, while four-time offenders will face cancellation of their driver's license. The Land Transportation Office is in charge of leading the implementation of the said law with the help of local government units. Victor Cosare, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority, or MMDA, apprehended a total of 119 motorists as of 6 in the evening today, in line with a new traffic law. Jo Anano will tell us why.
On the first day of implementation of the anti-distracted driving law, the agency observed that there were still some drivers who used their cell phone and gadgets while driving. Through the use of MMDA CCTV cameras in their traffic base, the agency monitored 81 violators who were motorcycle drivers, 25 private car owners, 7 truck drivers, 5 public utility vehicles, and 1 UV Express driver. Motorists who have television or monitor placed on their windshield or dashboard area were also apprehended. DOTR explains that apart from cell phones and gadgets, television or monitors are also prohibited under the law when they block the driver's view. But if it is for the benefit of the passengers, it is allowed by the law.
So ang usual kasi diba na feature ng ating mga kotse, merong mga TV screens or monitors doon po sa central console. Kung nandoon ng aircon, nandoon ng mga audio system ng mga kotse, hindi po yun covered because hindi naman po nasa line of vision na yon.
DOTR also emphasizes the importance of the implementation of the new traffic law.
Alam naman natin kung ano mas matimbang, di ba? Kasi pag nagda-drive ka ng isang motor vehicle along our public streets, hindi lang yung kaligtasan mo ang hawak mo Ang hawak mo, kaligtasan ng pasahero mo at kaligtasan ng mga tao sa kalsada.
Meanwhile, the Transportation Department is planning to amend some provisions of the law to address the loopholes such as the kind of vehicles as well as those without license plates. Joan Nano, UNTV News and Rescue, Mandaluyong City.
Next on One News. The Philippine and the Singapore Navy signed Memorandum of Understanding on white shipping.
And a total of 150 repatriated overseas Filipino workers arrived home today from Saudi Arabia.
Y News will be right back. The PNP Internal Affairs Service will no longer file charges against cops involved in the issue of a secret cell inside Manila Police District Station 1. Grace Casin will tell us why.
The PNP Internal Affairs Service has concluded its investigation against policemen involved in the issue of a discovered hidden cell. Now the case is filed at the Office of the Ombudsman. According to ES Inspector General Alfigar Triambulo, the jurisdiction of the case is now with the Ombudsman, and it's up for the latter whether to file administrative or criminal charges against the cops, especially since the Commission on Human Rights has already filed a formal complaint.
Nasa judici na yun Kaya nga hindi kami makapag-comment na kung may asunto o wala, kung may legal na basihan dahil dyan sa principle para hindi natin ma-influensyahan ang ombudsman kasi sila po yung may jurisdiction sa kaso.
The agency also clarifies that it is not dismissing the case against cops because the result of their fact-finding investigation have been forwarded to the Ombudsman, who now has the authority to decide.
Nung ipafinalize na po nila yung kanilang report on fact-findings investigation, hindi na po na-forward sa second stage yung kaso para i-evaluate kung may basihan o wala ang issue ng secret detention cell na ang involved ay buong Station 1. Ang instruction ko agad, i-forward na sa ombudsman ang kaso kasi wala na po kaming jurisdiction.
The Commission on Human Rights, meanwhile, says it is confident that the Commission has enough evidence to file charges against the said policemen.
We have faith in the office of the Ombudsman. We do believe that the office of the Ombudsman, as it has continually done in the past, will remain faithful to its mandate to conduct an impartial investigation.
Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
The National Capital Region Police Office, or NCRPO, reshuffles 7 PNP officials in Metro Manila effective today. This includes the chiefs of police of Region 3, Taguig, Navotas, Pasay, and Muntinlupa City Police Office. According to NCRPO spokesperson Police Chief Inspector Kim Molitas, the reshuffle is done to address the positions that will be left vacant upon the retirement of the senior officers based on the performance assessment that the PNP leadership conducted.
This is also in response to putting our best men on the communities where their knowledge best fit the structure of the community and where their expertise can best apply.
National Capital Region Police Office spokesperson Chief Inspector Kim Molitas confirms that 26 inmates have died due to jail congestion in Metro Manila since the war against drugs of the Duterte administration started. Most number of deaths recorded in Taguig City Police Station. Authorities say the inmates died of natural causes. Some detainees are also suffering from different kinds of diseases. The NCRPO is now coordinating with the Department of Health to address the health concerns of the inmates.
Most of them skin disease, some of them yung flu, meron. Pinaka-concern natin yung skin disease yes, kasi it's transferable. Nalilipat siya, di ba, from one inmate to the other. Yung flu, yan, di ba, pneumonia also is there. So, and they don't have enough ventilation then.
Farmers in Tagum, Davao del Norte can now start cultivating their farmland previously grabbed by an agribusiness company. Leslie Longbowen will tell us why.
Department of Agrarian Reform has formally turned over to 159 agrarian reform beneficiaries the more than 140 hectares of land of the San Isidro Farm Banana Plantation. This is following the 5-month land dispute between the agribusiness company Lapanday Food Corporation and farmers who were members of the Madaum Agrarian Reform Beneficiaries Association Incorporated. Before the turnover, various militant groups and farmers held an almost 5-hour protest in front of the plantation. The groups shouted to allow the farmers get in the plantation and to disarm the guards for the peaceful turnover.
Napaka-significant nitong araw na ito kasi yung mga magsasaka nabawi nila yung kanilang lupa, kinilala yung legal na kautusan ng Department of Agrarian Reform.
The Secretary Rafael Mariano says the move has been the result of the decision of the department in line with the directive of President Rodrigo Duterte. It can be recalled that Secretary Mariano had twice attempted to distribute the said lands to the farmer beneficiaries, but the Lapanday Foods Corporation refused and have its armed men to block Mariano and his personnel from doing so.
Ang taas naman ng expectation din naman ng DAN na ito ay ipapatupad yung rate of installation na inisyo ko noong April, April 11 at nireiterate ko na dapat ma-execute yan yung rate of installation through the issuance na po nung break-off in order.
At 11 in the morning, the farmers were able to enter the plantation. This is after the 1-hour clearing operation of DAR Sheriff and PNP inside. Farmers
Farmers are pleased with the efforts of the government to address their concerns.
Ada ko may pasalamat nga kuan sa dugay na nga panahon so nabawi na sa mag-uma.
Nalipay jud ko og dako nga nakasulod na gud ang mga ERB kay dugay ko namong antos so sa 7 ka tuig.
DAR is also currently determining the farmers that can receive lands. Leslie Longbowen, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
25 centenarians in Davao City have received 100,000 peso cash gift from the Department of Social Welfare and Development. Robbie De Guzman will tell us why.
The Department of Social Welfare and Development has given all 25 centenarians 100,000 pesos each in accordance with the Centenarians Act. Tatay Sixto Idolantes is among those who received the cash incentive. He says it would help him in his personal needs.
Magpasalamat yung ako. Ako bonus karon. Gasto na ko na yung kaon o sa uban ang ako gastuhan.
Nanay Julieta Hizo is thankful that she reached the age of 102 despite her blurred vision and illnesses.
Salamat gini. Salamat kay Duterte kung tagaan na pa ko ulit. Kabuhay marawid ko siya kagabas ko kaginoo. Nagpasalamat ko sa Ginoo kaya nakalambot ko sa 102.
Under the Centenarians Act, Filipinos reaching the age of 100 years old and above will receive a cash gift and a letter of felicitations from the President of the country.
This is the act acknowledging our centenarian and ang gobyerno nato naghatag og 100,000 pesos for every beneficiaries who were actually 100 years old and above.
Robbie De Guzman, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Hundreds of schools file petition to CHED for tuition hike. Meanwhile, CHED has urged lifelong learners to take the opportunity this school year to get back to school. Ray Pelayo will tell us why.
The Commission on Higher Education is likely to approve the tuition hike this coming school year for higher education institutions. Chairperson Patricia Liquanon says the petitioners just need to justify their reasons for their petition of tuition increase. Private schools in particular should improve their services to qualify for the increase.
We really don't want education to be priced beyond the reach of most Filipinos. On the other hand, institutions have to support themselves, particularly private institutions that don't get any assistance from government.
There are 101 HEI applications in CHED Central Office, but the agency is still waiting for those who are in regional offices.
Last year kasi about 304. So kung ang lahat ng regions bumaba between 5 to 3 institutions, so we will not expect more than 300 institutions to be approved.
Meanwhile, CHED urges lifelong learners to get back to school. Based on the 2010 census, the country has around 10.2 million lifelong learners. There are those who did not totally enroll in college and those who have higher education units but were not able to graduate or finish their study.
Magkakaroon na po ng maraming changes na kung saan po magre-require po ang mga institutions possibly ng bridging programs or additional subjects na nire-require nga po ng bagong curriculum.
CHED says they are willing to assist those who want to get back to school, especially that the government has allotted 8 billion pesos for free tuitions in SUCs. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The Philippines and the Singapore Naval Forces signed a Memorandum of Understanding on the sideline of the week-long celebration of the 50th anniversary of the Republic of Singapore Navy. Robert Navoa will tell us why.
BRP Gregorio del Pilar is in Singapore to participate in the first International Maritime Review initiated by the Singaporean government. On the sideline of the event, the Philippines and Singapore navies signed a Memorandum of Understanding on White Shipping, or the exchange of relevant advanced information on the identity and movement of commercial non-military merchant vessels to further strengthen existing bilateral defense and security relations of both countries.
Yung
relationship ng Philippine Navy at Republic of Singapore Navy ay napakalakas. At gusto namin sumama sa pagdiwang kasama ng mga ibang mga barko sa ibang bansa ay nandito para makilahok doon.
Meanwhile, during the 5th International Maritime Security Conference, wherein naval leaders agreed to pursue common maritime objectives for safe and secure seas as well as avoid misunderstanding and miscalculation at sea.
During the symposium, that yung isang mechanism, the CUES, Code of Unplanned Encounters at Sea, has been very useful in limiting the tensions when navies meet in the high seas. So, ito ho, nag-uusap po kami ng iba hong mga mekanismo ulit para mabawasan ho yung tension, particularly at our South China Sea.
Consequently, the largest maritime defense exhibition in Asia-Pacific was also held. Vice Admiral Mercado says the exhibition is beneficial in enhancing the Philippine Navy's maritime capabilities towards the Navy's modernization program.
Sa taon natin ngayon, bibili tayo ng mga fast attack craft para matulungan ang ating mga Philippine Navy troops and particularly our Philippine Marine Corps dito sa Southern Philippines sa kanilang trabaho na pagsain ang yung terrorist group na ASG. Now, dito ho sa MDEX na nilahukan namin, meron ho kaming nakita mga magagandang teknolohiya, particularly sa combat systems, na pwede naming ilagay sa future frigate ho natin.
The mission has provided opportunity to solicit modernization initiatives that would be beneficial to the Navy and the Philippines. Robert Navoa, UNTV News and Rescue, Singapore.
The Philippine government vows to provide cash and livelihood for returning overseas Filipino workers, especially those repatriated from Saudi Arabia. Maki Libradilla will tell us why.
Rowena is one of the more than 100 undocumented overseas Filipino workers or OFWs who arrived from Saudi Arabia earlier this morning. She stayed in Riyadh for 4 years and became a TNT after her visa expired. Rowena recounts that after escape from her abusive employer, she worked part-time.
Nagtatrabaho kami pag medyo maluwag, pero pag medyo mahigpit sa pulis, hindi kami nakakalabas.
However, not all undocumented OFWs will receive amnesty.
Hindi lahat ng undocumented workers, so halimbawa dito, yung mga may kautangan sa mga bangko, sa pakotse, yung mga nasa kulungan, may kasong kriminal, hindi rin kasama rito.
The Overseas Workers Welfare Administration or OWA gave 5,000 pesos to each returning OFWs. OWA also shoulders the transportation expenses of OFWs returning to their home provinces. Returning Filipino workers with children receive an additional of 5,000 pesos from the SWD. One of them is Fahima, who returned with her 2-month-old baby.
Tumakas po ako. Kasi yung amo ko kasi yun nga, nagkakatas ng sahod.
Aside from the cash, the government has also vowed to provide additional aid for the OFWs.
Yung pagbibigay sa kanila ng kanilang mga employment, and overseas options, and then yung livelihood, yung mga livelihood reintegration, pangkabuhayan, programs ng OWA at ng DOLE at ng National Reintegration Center, mamimili lang sila ng kanilang livelihood package, mga 100 pagpipilian yun. And then, yung legal assistance, yung mga merong mga karaingan sa kanilang mga employer.
To avail of the additional aid, OFWs will just have to visit the nearest regional offices of OWA, DOLE, and the SWD.
Pag-uwi, maghahanap sila ng paraan to access the different assistance from the government. Siyempre, yun naman, hindi naman parang mga babies na alaylayan all the way.
About 2,000 returning OFWs have been granted with visas. The government expects 5,000 more Filipino workers applying for amnesty that could bring them back to the Philippines until June 29. Maki Libradilla, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasay City.
Congratulations to Dr. Daniel Razon for receiving the Lifetime Achievement Award from the Kapisanan ng mga Broadcaster ng Pilipinas. This award is in recognition of his notable contributions to the broadcast industry. and for his selfless commitment to public service. To God be the glory.
Just a day after Kuya Daniel Razon received the KBP Lifetime Achievement Award, another recognition has been given to UNTV, this time from the National Commission for the Culture and the Arts. Leslie Longbowen will tell us why.
As part of the celebration of the 30th anniversary of the National Commission on Culture and the Arts, or NCCA, the group recognized the organization that helped them push their objectives. UNTV is among those who received the Citation Award as a media partner of the Commission. NCCA is grateful to the media because of its help in preserving the Filipino culture.
Well, I'm very happy about it because that tells us that NCCA is not alone doing the promotion, protection, and preservation of the Philippine culture.
True. So this night of recognition and awards is our way of saying thank you to you, thank you to all those who had become part of our journey.
With the acknowledgement and trust given by NCCA, the station assures that it will continue to be an instrument to preserve and reinforce the love of Filipinos to their own culture.
Well, of course, we are grateful for this recognition from National Commission for Culture and the Arts. And of course, dito po sa UNTV, makakaasa sila sa pangunguna po ni Kuya Daniel Razon na we will still continue to work hand in hand with them, of course, to further the preservation, development, and of course, promotion of Philippine arts and the culture.
Sa akin, it's more a testament na UNTV is going in the right direction kasi just yesterday, diba, si Kuya won a Lifetime Achievement Award, and then today, UNTV was recognized. So that means under his guidance, may ginagawa tayong tama.
Leslie Longbowen, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasay City.
Those are the reasons behind the news, May 18, 2017. I'm Angelo Castro III.
Reasons redelivered to you as they unfold. I'm Darlene Basingan.
Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Thank you for watching. Why News.